I'm going to create an example of C# classes. And to start off with, I'm going to add some comments to my program. Um, First, to take a look, I'm going to collapse this. Inside of this namespace is a collection of classes. So you notice right now the only thing I have is my default class, and with the Visual Studio, the default name for that is program. If I wanted to, I could rename that, right click and rename, and then I could type in the name that I wanted. Whatever that is, and apply that, and it goes searching through the program to see if there are any other instances of the name program and change it to, in this case, example of a class. Um, so inside of this class, I'm going to collapse that. Right now we only have one class. Inside of this class, I happen to have a method. And this is my main method. When the program starts, it's going to start compiling here. And I've got a message there. I'm going to use debug, start debugging to run this, so I'm going to use read key, doesn't matter. Pause the output. Make sure there's a semicolon. I'm going to go ahead and run this, debug, start debugging, and make sure everything's running okay. And it comes back with my console window, and inside of my console window it displayed exactly what I wanted it to. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And so now I'm going to put in some comments, and I'm going to act on those. Let me see, I'm going to put those right here inside of the namespace, and I'm going to paste those in there. Quite a few comments, so but if I do a block comment, and so I'll do slash asterisk, and down at the bottom of this I'm going to do asterisk slash. Okay, so I don't need that, hit the wrong key. So on this, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add a second class with the name child. So inside of my namespace, and inside of my namespace right now, I'm going to collapse this. Inside of my namespace, I only have one class. So I'm going to add another class, but I want to make sure it's outside of that first class that I created, the default class that I made. So I'm going to collapse this. I guess this is an easier way to make sure I've got a separate class. And I'm going to create a new class, and the keyword is class. And then the name of it will be child. Okay, so I've done it. Now I need to put my ending and my beginning and ending curly braces, but if I collapse this, you'll see that inside of my namespace I now have two classes. Okay, now let's go back. Now that we've done that, we've created a child class. Let's see what else we had in there. Comments. Add a default constructor. Let's wait on that. Following methods, information to display the name Angel. Add the methods run, jump, play. Let's do that. That's pretty easy to do. To this class called child, I'm going to add some methods. I'm going to make them public. I'm going to make them void because with methods I can say a data type I want to return, or in this case I don't want to return a data type. I'm not going to use the keyword return in here. And I'm going to create a method called run. And I'm going to put parentheses on the end of that because it's a method. And I'm going to put my ending and beginning curly braces. And then I'm going to put in some code in here. And the only thing I'm going to place in there is I am running. Okay, so that's it. I could duplicate that and have a run, jump, play. Each one would look similar to this, but say that's the only thing that I wanted in here. Here's something else that we can do, and I'll do that now. I'm going to create something called a property, and what I did is I typed PROP and then hit the tab key twice, and it created a default property for me, but I have to customize this. And I want to create a string property called name, and I want to getter and setter. And I'm going to do this 2 more times, and let me see, this one I'm going to call age. And with these properties, they're public, which means that other classes have access to them, and there's a naming convention, and in this case the first letter is uppercase. And I'm not going to go into detail on the video, but it's just a convention that that we use on that. And what was the third one? Let's go back to, what was it? Name, age, and height. Okay. And we'll create one for height. And it is an integer data type. HEGT in inches. Inches. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now I have these 2 collapses. I'm going to collapse this back down, and now you see I'm going to go back to my class with the main method in it, and from here, I don't need that right now. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an object out of that class. Now, this is a difficult, you notice that my child class is in here. I'm going to create a child. I'm going to call it child 1. I'm going to use the keyword new, and that allocates memory in the computer, in the computer's memory, to where to put this code. Create a new area in the computer's memory where we can place the code for this child object. And then I'm going to call the constructor. Now, I didn't specifically put, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't specifically add a constructor to the child. I'll do that next, but you'll notice that it's there by default, and this is called a default constructor, and it's there it's just a starting place for the code, for the compiler when it goes there and we start building our program. Okay, and what do we want to do with this? Let's call that method. So now that I have the object built, I'm going to say child1, which is the child. I made a copy of the class. I stored it into this new object or instance called child1. And now when I press the period or the dot operator, you notice that I have access to all of those methods. The methods are these little blocks. You notice that we do have a run method, which I created, but we've also got one called toString, getType, get hash code, and equals. Now those are there, those four are there by default. Those are inherited, so they are from the object class, and so those are always there. You'll always have those available to you. But the one that I created was run. It's a method called run. And I also created some properties. How come I only have two? I thought I created three. Oh, there's the third one. Age, height, and name. I created those properties. So I have access to all of those. So let's do the run method first. I'm going to do the run method first. Okay, now that's it. I created an object, and now I'm going to access that code through this object. So I'm going to, so let me expand this child class, and you'll see that this is the method that it has access to. Okay, so I'm going to run this. So debug, start debugging, and you can't see that, but what it says is I am running. And so it ran, and it displayed what was in this run method, which is I am running. Okay, let's access one of the properties. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say child1 dot name, and what I'm going to set the name to is my name, and I'm going to set the age to 6. Okay, so now let's use that. So now that I've set those properties, what I can do is I can display those properties. Let's see, child name is, and then in curly braces, the first data value, age is, and the second value, property. Okay. All right, and then comma, and I'm going to add that first one. I'm going to, this is called a getter and setter. I've already set that. Now I'm going to go get that value. Child1 dot name, there it is, comma, child1 dot age. All right. Okay. I'm going to run that now. Debug, start debugging. And it says child name is my name, age is 6. Okay. And the last thing that we're going to do is look at setters. constructors, and a constructor is, I'm going to put my constructor right here. A constructor is public, and the name of the constructor is the same as the class. So the constructor, the name of the class is child, so the name of the constructor is child. Now I'm going to put parentheses after that because a constructor looks like a method, and I'm going to make this default constructor I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm going to leave the default constructor blank, but I'm going to do something called overload the constructor. Child. So I'm going to make two constructors. And this second one, I'm going to pass in the string, and I'm going to call it name, integer for age, and an integer for height. In inches. Okay, put those in lowercase. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set those values here. So I'm going to say age, oops, oops, oops. Okay, I'm going to say this age. Use the default, use the keyword this, and then I'm going to say this name, yes, and name, and whoops, semicolon, this height, yes, that one, equals height. Now this keyword refers to this class, this instance, this class. Okay, and you notice in this class there's a property called name, age, height. Now I'm not really using this the way you normally would, but it'll work for demonstration purpose. But so you notice we have two constructors, one constructor with no parameters, and the second constructor with parameter for name, age, and height that will be passed in. Okay, and then okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'll collapse this back down. I'm going to collapse this second class back down so we have some real estate here. I'm going to float my editor here. So it will let me do that so that I can okay, so I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to let me create a second object out of child. Oops, I don't want that. I want the child class, and I'm going to create an object called child2 and new constructor child, but this time I'm going to use the overloaded, which was one of two, which was name, age, and height. So let me pass in the name, age, and height. So name, age, and height. Okay. And now with child 2, I'm going to display that. Child 2 name, age, and height was the last. Okay. And now I'm going to go get those. Child 2 dot name, child 2 dot age, and child 2 dot height in inches. Okay. Let's see if we've got that. I'm going to go ahead and try that. Minimize that. Debug. Start debugging. Okay. And that seemed to work okay. Child 2 name is May. Age 14. Height 45 inches, which is the information that we passed to it. Okay, so that's our example of classes. There's a lot more that we could say, but for a quick demonstration and a starting point, this should be a good place to start. Okay, that's it.